This conference will now be recorded.
Uh, Let me give you an introduction about myself. I'm Lakshman. So, having 14 years experience in Java and J2W technologies. Most of my work is on Java and J2W. And along with my work, so I associated with the career IT for a couple of years. I'll be doing the morning at least one or two batches, the Java session, full stack batches. I'll be doing. Now, in this demo session, what you can expect, let me give you the overview of the course and what we are going to learn, where exactly Java is going to be useful, and like as a Java developer, what are the paths you are having. So let me give you introduction about that. And to make it session interactive, if at any point of time if you have any question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Yeah. Okay, first, as a Java developer, if you take the Java full stack developer, this is a very common, full stack developer means what are the expectations, you know? So, as a full stack developer, you are expected to manage the entire life cycle of the software, from the UI, then getting the requirements and converting that requirement into the low level diagrams, then translating that into the code, and then the writing the both the code server side, database side, and the UI. So everything you should be comfortable as a full stack developer. Most of the times you will be hired as a full stack developer. You will be working in either back end or front end. You will be working, no. But the reason they ask that is so whenever you are communicating with the UI developers or backend developers, so you should be in a position to explain what exactly you require, or when they are communicating with you, if you are a server side guy. So if they are saying something, you need to understand that what exactly they are telling that. So as a full stack developer, you'll understand the the front end and the back end and server side, so that it is easy for you to uh, communicating with the people and solving the problems, and so kind of a taking the forward things, it will become easy. So, but most of the times, the full stack developer, if you who you will be hired as a full stack developer, you would be working in either server side completely. If you are really good at server side, you will be working server side or UI side. But still, industry is asking for the full stack developer, so that even somebody is not there, also you can manage the application. Or if application is going entering into the development mode, maintenance mode, where you don't require a full-fledged developers four five the UI developers, and we don't we they don't maintain the separate teams. As a developer, you are going to manage the entire application. You are going to manage as a full stack developer. You are going to manage entire application. That depends on the company to company. Depends on the what kind of project you are working. So as a full stack developer, you are expected to know so the front end, either Angular or React, then the backends, the server side, and then the database. Yeah, databases also. How to write the queries and retrieving the data. If there is some query issues are there, how we are going to fix that. All these things you must aware of that. This program is a full stack program where we are going to start our the discussion with the tools. First, what are the tools we are going to use it here? Okay. What are the IDs we need to use it here? What IDs we need to install? So that those are the things first we'll discuss about that. Now, when it comes to the Java, when you're working with the Java, so you need to decide that what is the version of the Java you are going to work with that. Okay, either you're using the JDK 19 is the latest version. I think the JDK 20 recently they released. We will start our session with the Java. We can say it as a Java 19. Okay, JDK 19 we can say that, not Java 19. JDK 19 we would be using, and we need to get familiar with the one IDE. So this is IDE is either Eclipse, NetBeans, or IntelliJ, or you can use the Visual Studio Code also. Depends on the organization. Some organizations they may go with the IntelliJ, some organization they will use the Eclipse, and sometimes it depends on the individual developers as well. Okay, the developer is interested in Eclipse, you would go with the Eclipse. So in our sessions, we are going to use the IntelliJ. We are going to use it here. Okay, we are going to use the IntelliJ Community Edition. We would be using that here. So IntelliJ ID, we are going to use it here. Okay, IntelliJ ID, we are going to use it here. And then we need to get familiar with the IDE. We got familiar with that, and then there is a tool called the JIT. JIT is the place. JIT is a tool where we are going to maintain the source code versions. So when we are working in a team, the project will be created. A project is created, and it's going to keep it in a central repository. From there, you should able to get the code, and at the same time you can make your changes, and you will be pushing the code, uh, like maintaining the different versions of the code. Everything will be taken care by the JIT. And as a developer, from the day one, you should you should familiar with the JIT. Okay, comfortably you should use the cloning the code and then making changes and pushing the code. If there is any conflict, it comes, how to resolve that conflict. This all these things we'll be learning by using the JIT. And JIT, you can use the CLI or IntelliJ IDE. It has provided the very nice UI. By using that UI also, we can fix that. Okay, we can do what are the command line tools or commands it is doing here. By using the JIT, you can solve that. Then once you get familiar with the JIT, and you should get familiar with the one of the build tool, either it is a Maven or Gradle. Okay, Maven or Gradle, we should get familiar with that. Like when you're building your applications, you cannot create a simple core Java projects where we require a lot of dependencies. When you are solving your projects, Java alone you cannot solve the entire business problems. Like you will be using a lot of third-party libraries. You will be using that here. And when you're using the
And
third-party libraries, you cannot. Yeah, go ahead, please.
so, as you told that we'll be using IntelliJ, so you'll be
Mhm.
teaching us this tool. So, for example, if we get to work with the other tools as Visual Basics and all, you'll also train
Mhm.
on that, or it's something that we need to learn from our end.
See, it is simple. Like most of the IDEs will follow the more or less. It follows the same kind of a standards.
Okay,
If you get familiar with the one IDE, it is easy to go and use the other IDEs.
okay,
It
it's
it
just
is something
same.
like this. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
if you are using the Excel, Open
mm,
Office Excel, you can use it here. The more or
got
less
it.
it will be the same, but this is from the different vendors. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
So
okay, got
nowadays, I have seen most of the organizations they are using the IntelliJ as their IDE they are using. Yeah, even the current organization where I am working, we also use as the IntelliJ. And like a company is sound enough, they may go for the paid version. If the companies are small and still they are in initial stages, they will use the community edition. Community edition alone, it is sufficient to do the project. Yeah. So for us, community edition is good enough. Yeah, for our training. Yeah, this the Maven. We are going to Maven or a Gradle. We are going to learn that here. I'll introduce the Maven from the day one. We are going to introduce. We will get familiar with the Maven. What is a Maven and how we are going to add your dependencies. Okay. So when our new dependencies are required, how are you going to when our version is changed or when our new library is required, how we will be adding that here. What are the Maven commands Maven clean package, the build steps you have that. There are whenever you develop any project, first it has to be cleaned, then it has to be compiled, then it has to be tested, then you are going to run that application. Now you are going to do the packaging and you are going to install that package. So these are the series of steps you are having here. How to do that? So we will be learning in the Maven. Most of the projects, what are the projects you are going to work in real time? Either the project will be built in a Maven or a Gradle. Okay, these are the basic things as a Java developer you must aware of that from day one. Okay, working with the source code repositories, working with the JDK or IDE, then like getting familiar with the JIT and the Maven and Gradle. If you,
What are the
yeah,
tools that we need to download for the class one?
yeah, I'm going to explain one by one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be explaining that here. Suppose if you are taking here JDK 19, yes, we have to download and install. IntelliJ we need to download and install. Then JIT also we need to download and install, and Maven also we need to download and install that here. I'll come back to that how to install if time permits. We will try to install that. So now these are the basic setup we need to do in our machine. In the day one class itself, we are going to set up. You are going to do this setup. Once you are done with the setup, then how is my learning journey will start. So when it comes to here we are going to take the different things. You are going to take it here. The first one is I'm going to take it as a core Java. Okay. The core Java is the place where you would be learning about the fundamentals of the programming. Hey, what is the loops and what is sequential execution? What is iterative execution? What is the selection statements? Then object-oriented concepts. The how are you going to handle the exceptions? So what is the reflection? What is the collections? The basics of the entire Java, the base fundamental concepts, all the fundamental concepts from the how to declare a variable to the how we are going to store it in a collections and how do you write the threading programming and how we are going to deal with the files. Everything you will be learning in the core Java. This core Java is a base for any advanced concepts you are going to learn. And suppose if you decided your career, you want to go it as an Android developer, or you want to go it as a Selenium tester, test automation developer. If you want to go that, if you want to choose that path, here we have it three options. You can say that here. Once you are very good at core Java, now you can choose that here. Either you want to go it as a Java full stack developer or Android developer or the tester. If you are using the Selenium, the prerequisite for the Selenium is a core Java. If you are going for the Android developer, the prerequisite for this core Java. If you are going it as a full stack developer, yeah, obviously we should know core Java. The core Java is once you get familiar or very good knowledge on the core Java or core concepts, you can decide that which one you want to go here. These core Java developers sometimes in the organizations they are expected to do Selenium testing, they are expected to do the Android development, and they are expected to do the server side as well. And this is the place where you have to be very strong, or your knowledge has to be very strong, because this is a base for the rest of the things. Without having the knowledge on the core Java concepts, it would you may learn that things, or you may solve the problems, or you may work in a projects also. But what happens is here the things will go back and forth. Whenever you get some doubt, again you will go back and you will learn the fundamentals. Again you will come back and you will implement that here. Like no. So always the work will go back and forth. Like always you will be checking the fundamental questions in the internet, and you will come back and you will try to solve that. Okay. So I would strongly recommend you people to get very strong knowledge on these core Java concepts, and rest of the things you can learn on your own also, because your fundamentals are clear. The advanced concepts, whatever advanced concepts we are going to learn, those all advanced concepts is like no, it's a lot of libraries we are going to get familiar with that. And in that libraries, by using that libraries, by using these core Java concepts, how quickly you can solve business problem. That's what you are going to learn in advanced concepts. Okay, in core Java, the main focus is we will be giving it as fundamentals. Okay, so we are going to learn the fundamentals of the programming. Then just on a high level, I'm just typing here. Here we are going to learn about the object-oriented concepts. Object-oriented concepts. Then we will be learning about the main concepts are collections, exceptions, reflections, threads. Those are the concepts you would be discussing here. Okay, object-oriented concepts, and then here we would be saying it as a collection, and then reflection. So we can say it as exception, threads. These are the few concepts I'm listing. There will be a lot of other concepts you will be learning. So at a high level, just I'm telling you this here. Once you get familiar with the core Java, now with the core Java alone, you can develop a standalone applications. You can develop. You cannot develop the distributed applications. You cannot develop. That's one thing. Another thing is by using the core Java, you are developing an application. This application can run it in the same machine. And sometimes what happens, the data has to be stored in a durable manner. We need to store it here. So that's a place where we are going to use the database. Okay, this is a database. And if you take these databases, we have a two types of databases nowadays. Like now applications are using the one is a SQL database. Another one is a NoSQL databases. Okay. If we choose the SQL database, we are going to use the database called the PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL or Oracle or DB2, Sybase, like there are a lot of databases are available. We are going to use the PostgreSQL. We are going to use it here. How to install the PostgreSQL? And in order to talk to the PostgreSQL, we need to know the language called the SQL. Okay, SQL is a structured query language where by using this SQL, you can interact with your databases. You are going to interact with that. So once you get familiar with the SQL, SQL has got the DDL commands, DML commands. There are different types of commands we are having here. How we'll get familiar with all these commands. And once you learn that here, how do I connect my Java application? Here I have written a Java application. So this is my Java application. This Java application needs to talk to these databases. This needs to talk to these databases. How I'm going to talk to these databases? Like talking to the database is nothing but the taking the data and inserting into the database. And what are the data it is there in the database? You are going to retrieve that data. So to do this, we would be using there is something called the JDBC. Okay. JDBC is a concept. JDBC is a concept. By using the JDBC, you will be interacting from your Java application to the databases. This database could be anything. Either it can be a MySQL or Oracle or PostgreSQL or DB2 or SQLite. There are a lot of databases are available. You can choose the one of them. Do we need to learn all the databases? No, we need not to know need not to learn all the databases. You should learn the SQL very well. Yeah, the SQL is the SQL group. These are the people who has given the standards for all the relational databases. They have to follow these standards which are given by the SQL group. Like if you are familiar with or if you have a good knowledge on the SQL, you can go and comfortably work with any of these relational databases. So now here, once you're done with the core Java, you would be learning the JDBC. So JDBC is from your Java application, you are trying to connect with the database. For that, we'll use the JDBC API. By using the JDBC API, you'll be talking to the relational databases. You are going to talk to that. Now I'm done with this. Now still, this is also standalone application. Suppose what are the applications I developed? I want to develop a rich UI I want to develop. Like now where user can enter the data and what are the data he entered, you want to see it in the web. In order to do that, we need to develop the UI for that. Okay, we need to develop the UI. So this UI involves the lot of the concepts. Like now when you take the UI technologies, where the base is HTML, then we have a CSS, then we have something called the JavaScript, and Ajax. Okay, and there is something called the JSON, and then there is something called the XML. Okay, uh, then you would be learning the one of the framework called the Angular. Okay, this is what Angular or React. We can choose that here. So as a UI developer, in order to develop the HTML pages, and here we may use something called the Bootstrap. Bootstrap, we are going to use it here. If you take that UI, and when you are creating the UI pages, the basic things we need to know: HTML, CSS. Then Bootstrap is using for to create a responsive web pages. We'll use the Bootstrap, and JavaScript is using for to make a interactive web pages. We require a JavaScript. Ajax is asynchronous JavaScript and XML, where if you want to make a call from your JavaScript to the server, we would be using the Ajax. We are going to use it here. Ajax is concept, like no, so the Ajax concept, how you will use it here. Whenever you click keys happen something, and behind the scenes it has to make a call to the server, and it should get the data, and it has to update the portion of your web page. That uh, that behavior or that implementation we'll do it in Ajax. We are going to do that here. And there is a JSON and XML. Whenever you are exchanging the data from server to client, UI application needs to send some data to the server. UI, like what are the data you are getting from the server, you need to render in UI. So the common standard format is used JSON and XML. Okay, I will not discuss the XML part here. Uh, okay, now just you will be discussing these are the things we will be discussing here. The Angular, and when you are learning the Angular, yes, we should know here. If I'm looking at here, there is something called the file systems JSON. Then we have a ML. We have a XML. So then CSV. Okay, when you are learning this core Java or whenever whenever you are going before going to the UI technologies, in between in core Java, these are the all the file system you will get familiar with that. Like most of the times in your business applications, your data will be comes in the form of either JSON, ML, XML, or CSV. These are the things. There are other formats also. Avro, then we have a, Parquet files. Like different files are there. Those files we may not, we rarely will use it, especially when you're using the big data kind of a thing. We may use the other format, but in a traditional common web applications, JSON, ML, XML, and CSV files are common. Now, how are you going to read these files, and how do you convert your Java objects to the JSON object to the ML, or XML to the Java object to the XML, and reading the CSV files? So these all concepts we will be discussing in the core Java itself. Okay, uh, you will get more familiar with the how do I read the JSON file? How do you get the ML files? How I'm going to read that here? There is another property file. I'm sorry. There is something called the properties. Okay, there is another like no, so application dot properties. Yeah, properties is another file. These are the typical files. The configurations of your application, it will be done it in a property file. Okay, these all files, how to handle with these different types of files, we will be discussing in the core Java itself. And by the time when you go to the UI, you will get familiar with the what is a JSON. We need not to discuss once again in the UI. Once you have done with that, now you learn the UI, you learn the fundamentals and how to work with the JSON, how to work with the objects, and everything we learned here. To connect this UI and like your server side technologies, UI and the fundamental concepts, we read a server side technology. This is a place where we are going to learn about the servlets and the JSPs. Servlets and JSP. Okay, servlets and JSPs are using for the in order to create a dynamic web pages. In order to create a dynamic web pages, we'll be using the servlets and JSP. This is a place we should get familiar with the your application servers, either Apache Tomcat, how we are going to use the Tomcat, how do you create a WAR files, and how we are going to deploy into the server. These all concepts you'll get familiar with that. But if you take the modern applications, everything is a decoupled. It's not a monolithic applications these days. Everything is a decoupled. What does it mean? So here, this was the till we can say that to 2015, 2000 years till 18, we can say that no, people are using the servlets and JSPs, and they will be writing the server side code and UI code. Everything is a one single application. It is going to be managed. These applications we call it as a monolithic applications, where it's like no, you are going to create a one big fat arrow war file we are going to create, and you are going to deploy that here. Whenever there is any small changes also, every time we need to do the deployment. But these modern days, the applications are going with the microservices and kind of architecture where your UI is completely decoupled from the your application. Okay, for that purpose we'll be writing the web services. How these modern applications, let me explain this here. Here my server side application, these server side applications might be talking to the one of these databases. It will be talking to that here. Like you can take it as a this is a one single service. You can take it here. Now you can have the multiple clients. You can have the multiple clients. Okay, this application is talking to the this database. It is going to talk to that here. Database or some other like no S3 or some other file system. It is going to talk to that here. You forget about that. So now here, whatever the data you want to expose, you will be giving it as an API. Like you will have a Angular client. Here is the Angular client. Sorry guys. Here we have a Android client. Here we have a some other application. These all the guys wants to talk to the this application. Okay, this application needs to talk to this application. They have to talk to that here. Like this is the Angular. Like you are taking the Angular application. This is how we are going to take it as the Android. Okay, Android application, and this we are going to take it as some other application. Okay, some other application. So when they want to talk to each other, like this UI or Android or some other application needs to talk to that here, and we have to exchange some data. This we will do by using the REST APIs. REST APIs we are going to use it here. This REST to develop this REST API again we need to choose the one of the frameworks. Either you can do by using the Jersey, like REST Easy. There are so many other frameworks are available, and these all frameworks it is bundled in one great framework called the Spring. Okay, we will be learning about we are going to learn before doing these applications. We are going to learn the Spring. So that Spring also Spring is a framework. We are going to introduce the Spring framework by using the Spring Boot. So where we learn about the core concepts, and then we learn about the AOP, then we are learning about the MVC, then we are learning about the REST, okay, REST services, then we learn about the Spring data, then we learn about the security, okay, how the application is going to security. So then other modules we will be learning about that. These are the core modules which any developer should get familiar with. The Spring framework will be we are going to introduce with the Spring Boot. First we learn core, then AOP, MVC, REST services, and Spring data, Spring security. The Spring data will be used instead of JDBC. We are going to use the Spring data, where internally it uses the Hibernate. It will talk to the databases. Like what is the core concepts like dependency injection, what is the scopes of your bean, and when there is two objects when you are having here, you will get the ambiguity, how we are going to resolve. Those all concepts we will discuss in the core. And when it comes to the AOP is aspect oriented programming, where your secondary logic, like you want to introduce the secondary logic on top of your business logic. Like you are going to write a cascade concerns, you are going to write it here. How to write that cascade concerns we will be learning in AOP. MEC, again, MEC when you are using here, where your UI technology also will be uh, getting into your application. So mostly we'll just discuss about the MEC. We may not develop anything in MEC, but our main focus will be given on the RESTful web services. How are you going to write the RESTful web services? What are the HTTP verbs we are having here? Get, post, put, delete. Like this, we have options. Like when you are performing the update operation, you are going to use the one method. When you are deleting, you are going to use the another method. So all these things we'll learn it in a Spring Boot. By using the Spring Boot, you would be learning that here. And once you learn this technology, now you can say that no, hey, I got familiar with all these concepts. I can build a applications. Once you build this application, the build process needs to be automated. So for that, we will be like in between we will be learning about the JUnit, how to write what are the application I'm developing here. You need to test that. As a developer, your code has to be tested by yourself. How are you going to do the testing? For that, we will be using the JUnit. We are going to use it here. And at the same time, when you do the code quality, we need to check that here, whether you have written a well written code or bad code you have written. That will be checked by using there is a plugin called the Sonar Cube. The Sonar Cube is a plugin where it will tell you that the quality of your code, like how many bugs are there, how many major bugs are there, how many are minor, how many of them are critical. So whether you follow the coding standards or not. So we will be checking by using the Sonar plugin. We are going to use it here. and we will check that here. And another one is you will be using the Jacoco. Jacoco is the plugin where it will tell you that here how much code coverage you have done that here, whether all the methods, all the corner cases is covered or not. It will be tested by using the report we will be generating by using the Jacoco. To automate this all this continuous integration and the continuous deployment, like so we will use this CI/CD tool where you would be using the Jenkins. So we will write a Jenkins jobs. You will write it here, and whenever you push the code to the your repository, from there it is going to pick that code, and finally it is going to build and like it will send to the Sonar Cube, and at the same time it will check the there are sync like libraries, any vulnerabilities to check that here. There are other standards industry follows that. So these all things you do you write a Jenkins job. You are going to write it here. Whenever the code is pushed, it won't wait for the till the end of the day. Like whenever the code is pushed, immediately the build is going to trigger, and if everything is fine, then finally it is going to be deployed. So for that we use the Jenkins. And not only that, like these days, everybody, whenever they are building the applications, they are going to packaging that. They are doing the containerization. They are going to do that here. For that, we use the something called the Docker. We are going to use it here. How to Dockerize your application? We will also teach the. We are not going in depth about that. Like once you build an application, how are you going to Dockerize, and how will you deploy this Docker into the Docker Hub? And at the same time, there is something called the render.com. This is a website where you can deploy your Docker files into their site, and where they will validate that if things everything is fine, they will host your application. How to host this application into the servers, we will also discuss about that. So these are the things I'm going to cover this two and a half months. Yeah, we will be covering all these concepts we are going to cover. Our the basic discussion will start from the installing the plugins to the fundamentals of the programming, then SQL, then UI, the servlets and JSP. Then we'll be learning about the Spring Boot, and then we'll get familiar with the what are the tools industry uses. That all the tools you'll get familiar with. It's not only familiar, if you are practicing along with me, so you can say comfortably, hey, I have worked on these tools. Yeah, this is what, in a high level, what we are going to cover in this full stack program. So anyone has any concern or any questions, you can feel free to ask.
So, what are the expectations from your end when it's the first class? Is there something that we need to go through?
No, see, this
If
is
if
like
you're if
just
you're a
it is
person, you're just new to everything.
yeah, yeah. You if like no, this is a program designed for those who are starting the Java as the first programming language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't have any expectations. Like no, it is going to start from the uh, very baby steps.
Okay.
Yeah, if you already that Java, and you got familiar, you have some work experience with the Java, then for them first 1 week it will be like no, so it will be what you can say that it's a kind of a very basic things we are teaching. You may feel it that that's okay. You may learn during that process. No, some of the minute details you might have never focused on that. We will be covering that as well. Yeah, because it is always batches will be combination of a few people may be knowing that, few people may be very fresh, so they are learning the first time their programming language. One thing is remember that whatever session we are doing, the same day if you practice, the next day you will enjoy. Otherwise
So
it will
you'll
be
be giving something kind of assignments on day-to-day basis,
yes.
or
Every
how
day the
does this
assignment
work?
will be yes. Every day you will be given the assignment. Okay. Let me show you that. Like okay, there are some questions. Let me answer that, and I will go back. Will you teach writing SQL statements and how to write the Docker files and container? Yes, yes. We would be doing that. Yeah. When is the new batch is a first class going to started? Yeah, you can check with the organizer. Okay, I'm also organizer. You're checking with me. Yeah, I'm the not right person to answer. Somebody maybe Lakshmi or Vijaya will answer that. Do you also teach the multi-threading concepts, deploying API, microservices, data structures like hash map, global exception? Yes, dear. We are going to cover all those topics, whatever you are asking. Multi-threading, we may not give extensive focus on that. Okay, as a developer, what are the things you require to survive in the project or to work in the projects? That knowledge definitely will get it here. And rest of the things, microservices. We are not going to deal it as a separate course, but how the microservices are built and how it will be communicated, how to do the dockerization, these things definitely it is going to cover. And the data structures, yes, the when you are discussing about the collections, you would be doing that here. Global exception handling, this all these things are very basic concepts in the Spring. So whenever we are building the application, we would be doing that. Yeah. Now, oh, you have so many questions, dear. Okay, good. Do you also teach the multi-threading? Okay, that's the same question. Global exception deeply. Yeah. Will you teach the writing SQL statement, how to write the Docker files? Yeah, that's, I think I assigned this. Kafka messaging queue, producers and consumers. Okay. Uh, the Kafka thing, yes, at least like no, the theoretical concept of the Kafka, how it works, and like no, writing the partitions and consuming the data from the partitions and pushing the data to the partitions, the client and the server, like no, producer consumer, we will write. Like no, the Kafka itself, it says that no, in you are going to their website, and if you work on that, if you follow that example, they have given the Kafka client as a CLI, producer also CLI they have given. The same thing you will do by using the Spring. We are going to do that here. Yes. It is like no, one thing, no. So if the more people are demanding some things like no, so if there is a need, we can add the new concepts. I'm not saying that only we are going to cover these. Sometimes we may go deviate and we may go extra topic also. Yeah. Will the learning process will be like a project based to showing how to application developed and end to end? Yeah. So there is no second thought about that. Everything is hands on. Okay, I'll show you that like no. So one of the previous batch. Okay, how this is the course is going to continue. So suppose if you take the day one, just we are writing a hello world example. Only hello world example we could write it in a day one. And when you take the day two, we have written the some of the programs you have written here. Like this, it will go fundamentals few days. Then here we are going to take a applications. You are going to take it here. Suppose if you take uh, the applications, okay, IPL data, you are going to take it here, where you would be understanding the how like no. So how this IPL data, you have a CSV file. From this data you need to get a statistics, you need to get it here. IPL players, from this data you need to get the statistics, you want to get it here. How are you going to read this CSV file, and then how do you get the insights of this data? How do you get the insights of this data? You will be learning about that. Everything is like no, the like you will be creating it as a projects, as mini projects you are going to create it here. Like when you are creating the JSON, what are the things you will be learning? These are the classroom examples. End of the day I will be pushing into the GitHub, and you will be giving the assignments as well. Every day you will be asked to do the assignment questions, and these assignment questions, so I'll be giving it as a separate link. I'll be giving here. Sometimes I will type it to here itself, and I'll be asking you to do that assignment questions. Like no, everyday examples, you can take it here. So and end of the day, what are the you have done that here? Okay, email templates, something like real time. If you take that here, how are you going to create a email templates? The data will be the changing and remaining everything will be the same. How do you do that here? Like no, send email. Typically, this is the email format. You will be, it's like no, not like learning the string. This is the example of the string class, but exactly where we are going to use the string, replacing of the strings, where do you use that here? The practical uses you will see that here. And the data encrypt is, suppose if I'm taking the here data, whenever you are printing the, whenever you are going to what you can say, account numbers should not be displayed, it has to be encoded that like no. So how are you going to say that here? So this is what example I have given the assignment, and next day I have solved this question. Hey, your account number is this and it's credited with this amount. Like, how do you hide this? How are you going to hide this? And how do you show the last three characters? This practical examples you will be seeing that here. Yeah. Okay, there are so many other questions. So Apache Kafka I answered. Sri Lanka will your learning process will be project based? Yes. Your contact number? Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So when you are taking here string builder, you can take it this all examples you can take it here. Employee, then employee manager. Okay, how are you going to add the employee service, and like that? What are the methods you can solve it here? Like employee cred, how are you going to do this here? And if you are taking here this IPL, like everything, any example you take it here, movie rating, you will take a Kaggle.com data we have taken, and we will create a data set. From this data set we are going to take the insights of that here, which is a movie highest rated, we want to find that. So those all core Java examples you will be taking here. Every example it will go it as a kind of a mini project, you can say that. Okay, here if you look at here, there is a transactions, like you have a you can look at here, there is something called the transaction service, transactions.json. We have a list of transactions, and this is the amount is done it in and currency is this is the currency. What you are going to do here is, while displaying the currency, you should display the currency symbol, like no, so hey, this transaction is done in this currency, you shouldn't be displaying the currency name. How are you going to do that here? So that's where we have a currency things in some other JSON file. We would be reading that here based on the currency code. You would be picking the currency symbol, and whenever you are displaying that amount, you will display with the currency symbol. You are going to display that here. How to do that? Those all the things we will be discussing in the classrooms examples. Is this clear? So this source code will be given to that every day. The code will be pushed. Like no, you look at here, Git will have the branches. You can see here uh, everyday class, end of that class it will be pushed, and you can take from the this repository, you can take the code. And what are the assignments I'm going to add it here? Okay, assignment also it's added in this, like you would be working on those assignments. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, your contact number in the Science organization, you can ping in there. You can ping in this group itself, so they will share you the contact details. Okay, there is a person name called the career IT. You just ping them, they will give the details of that. Okay, any other questions? Yes, any questions? Good, it's a interactive session. Yeah, go ahead. If you have any questions, you can ask that. Any doubts?
I have a small doubt. So,
Go
as we
ahead.
know,
Go ahead.
as it is a
Mhm.
full stack one, like you told, we will be. I mean, there are Angular and Node.js. Like, will we learn about Angular also, and how we can connect it to Java and everything, or something like that?
Yes, definitely. We are going to build a application in Angular. See, this Angular, we will not deviate the course more into the Angular side. As a full stack developer, what are the basic concepts is required, and how do you communicate with the server, and how do you get the data and rendering into the UI pages? Those all these things will be covered in the Angular.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. If you are more focusing on this Angular side more, like so our learning will stop. Like because Angular itself it will go as a separate course. So
Okay.
I you don't expect that. I mean, for others also, don't expect that we are going to spend too much time on the UI. We will be spending the very minimal time on the UI. As a backend developer, UI components, what are the things we need to understand to quickly, like we should grab very quickly, and we should learn on our own. Then we should how we are going to communicate with the servers, and how do you render the data into the UI. If there is any fixes, how are you going to do that? That will be our main focus. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, some other question is popped up. Will you get recording? Yes, you'll get the recordings every day. The end of the day, the recordings you'll get it through your email. As a like Google Drive will be shared. You can go and watch that recordings. And every day classroom, like no end of the class, you will get the class notes, running notes. You'll get it here. So what are the notes I'm going to teach it here? Everything like no. This is what we the running notes of the previous batch, where you would be learning the what are the classroom. I'm going to type it here. Everything the notes you will get it here. Okay, how works. Uh, Let me do this here. Okay, this is these are the things you would be getting it as a running notes. You'll get it here. Like now, what is the data types and how we are going to use the data types. How are you going to communicate with that? Okay, what is access specifiers? How are you going to use it here? How do you connect SQL class? This is a how are you going to use it here? Then these are the things like what are the applications when you're developing here? How do you develop this application? So everything you'll get it in a like no. So when you're developing the applications, the screens will be given to you. You will be working on that screens and how this inheritance and all these things works. So the classroom notes will be shared with you. Now in your case, I have created a this is a story I created here, and I will be sharing the screen like no, the running notes I will be sharing with you so that you can use the as for the reference when you are watching the recordings. If you get some doubt, you can come back and you can use it. Yeah. Can you show demo of the application partially just to see? No need to run. Okay. And I mean, what do you want? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, since you are asking, okay, uh, let's we can take it as um, yeah, we can take anything. We can take it here. Any batches, IPL stat server app. I'm going to show that here. Okay, this is uh, one of the batch applications. If we are looking at here, okay, this is a version control system. I don't know. Okay, let it get this here. We haven't created here. Okay, it's just downloading that. Like we'll have a different repositories. We'll have it here. You can see that code. Okay, if you have a some concern about that, GitHub this is a place where you can see all our previous batch projects. You'll see that in this GitHub. Okay, now if I'm going here, suppose if I'm taking the uh, IPL stat UI, IPL contact book server app, like you have a different things you are having here. So everything will be maintained here. Like you have a two branches must be yeah. So when you are developing the contact book application, like what are the things you need to take care? The main method, if you are taking here, there is a contact book. You'll have a domain, DTO, repository, service, util. Like so, how are you going to do this here? The similarly, you will take any applications, you will have the same thing. You will have like repositories. If I'm going here, uh, there is something called the currency API. There is a IPL server side application. Where is that? Spring Learning. Yeah, you can go here. Like no, whenever you are learning that here, every batch, the whatever we do, the source code will be available at any point of time. You can go and get the source code from the here. You can get it here. Okay, still it is downloading that here. So we can see that here. From the source code repositories, you can see that here. This is a let it happen. Um, So here version control system. Oh, this is a strange thing. Curl. Hmm. Yeah, you can get it that, man. Don't worry. So like I think, yeah, I'm using the mobile data. It is a little slow. Uh, the like when we are creating the project, I will be explaining that here. How we are going to develop that application. The details of the project you will get it here. Yeah. Okay. Other questions is, will you get recording? Can you show me demo of your application partially just to see? No need to run. We can deploy these applications to Sonar, Scan, Jenkins, build different environment levels, different properties files. Yeah, this is the common things we will be working on that, Mr. Yeah, these are the basic things. When you are developing the applications, I will be explaining about the different environment. How do you configure that? We will see that. See, 100% we cannot mimic the exactly production grade applications like, deployment to all these things, because we don't have such a environment. But definitely we will be I'll be showing that here. The property files can be configured. Like, what are the configurations you are going to do that? That configurations can be done in your property files. At the same time, you can put it in a server location. Another one is you can put it in environment locations. Like, environment is the place where those properties are not going to change. So how do you over how it works? Like, when you have a property files, when you have a environment based properties, which one is going to pick? Those all these things I'll be explaining about that. That we can do by using the either Spring profiling, or you can do by using the Maven profiling. Also, you can do that here. But these days, that also the people are not going to store any of your credentials, this information in property files, because it is going to be exposed. They will be using the either Vault or configuration servers. They will be using that. Okay, did I answer your question? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So when you start our first class, we would be doing the first installation of these are the things. And if you guys has time and if you are planning to continue this batch, I would ask you people to install these are the things you install. Then we can continue the from the basics. We can continue. Thank you guys. That's all uh, I have to discuss. I mean, I don't have anything. So if you have questions, I can take your questions. Otherwise, we are done. Okay. One thing is, trust me that, what are the projects to survive 2 to 3 years experience? What else is required? We will be giving you that knowledge. Okay. And one thing, your commitment is 1 hour session, at least you are 1.5 hour session, at least you are practicing the 3 hours. That's the only thing you ensure. Starting the course is very easy. Like, people will start the course and they won't continue that year. Lasting the distance now. So until we finish that, we shouldn't be living in between. Like, we should continue that course, course, and you should learn. If you get it into the job, that's a secondary thing. That's very good and happy for you. But initially the classes will be very light and very interesting. The moment it's getting the complexity, people will slowly they drop off. So, and they may get the, hey, anyhow I can watch the recordings. So that's where the people will skip the classes. I would ask strongly people, attend the live classes, and you can clarify your doubts. And at the same time, what are the class we have discussed the same day? If you practice that, definitely you will get interested, and you will actively participate in the next session, upcoming sessions. So you ensure that you have a 3 hours of free time to attend these Java classes. Yeah. So 1.5 hour session and 1.5 hour, at least 1.5 hour your practice session. You are going to practice. Yeah. Thank you guys. So that's all for this demo session. Any questions? If you have any questions, I am going to stop the recording. I'll take your questions.